When we look at a world full of competing interests, businesses fighting for market share, politicians battling for votes, or even countries negotiating treaties, how can we possibly predict where the dust will actually settle? If humans were perfectly cooperative, the math would be easy. Two competing companies could agree to keep their prices high and split the massive profits. Two criminal suspects could both stay silent during an interrogation and walk away with minor sentences. In these scenarios, cooperation yields the highest total payoff for the group. But those ideal outcomes share a fatal flaw. They are structurally fragile. The moment one company secretly drops its price, or one suspect cuts a deal with the police, they gain a massive individual advantage while destroying their partner. The incentive to cheat is built right into the math. The optimal outcome is a nice target, but it ignores human incentives. What really governs our interactions isn't what is best, but what is stable. And most competitive games are rigged to trap us in that stability. In 1950, a young mathematician named John Nash formalized a way to find that trap. In his doctoral thesis, he stopped asking what players should do to help the group, and instead mathematically modeled what they will do to help themselves. He defined a state of mutual best response. In this state, given the strategy everyone else has chosen, I am perfectly happy with the choice I made. You can think of it as the no regrets condition. After all the hidden strategies are revealed and the game ends, no single player looks at the board and wishes they had acted differently, provided no one else changed their move either. This concept, the Nash Equilibrium, became the gravitational center of game theory. It identifies the only outcomes in a competitive system that are completely self-enforcing. This is a standard payoff matrix. It maps out a simultaneous game where player 1 controls the rows, player 2 controls the columns, and the numbers inside represent their respective rewards. To locate stability here, we use a simple mechanism. We perform the unilateral deviation test. First, we freeze player 2's strategy in the left column. Then, we look at player 1's options to see if they can secure a higher number by switching rows. If they can't, they stay put. We repeat the exact same test for player 2. We lock player 1 into the top row and check if player 2 can improve their own payoff by shifting columns. An equilibrium only exists in a cell where neither player can improve their score by moving. Both are playing their best response to the other simultaneously. Depending on the specific rules, a game might have one of these stable points, several of them, or zero pure strategy equilibria at all. This mechanical lock-in explains why rational actors get stuck in bad situations, like the prisoner's dilemma. Even with a profitable cooperative outcome on the board, individual incentives drag them down to the stable, low-paying cell. But what happens when the game has no pure stable point? Take matching pennies, a game where one player wins if the coins match, and the other wins if they don't. Every single choice is unstable because someone will always want to switch to either catch or evade their opponent. Nash proved that every finite game has an equilibrium as long as we allow for mixed strategies. Instead of choosing a single definitive action, players randomize their choices using specific probabilities. The mathematical goal of a mixed strategy is highly precise. You randomize your moves exactly enough to make your opponent completely indifferent to their own options. If they can't predict your action, their incentive to switch disappears. Even in a state of pure, unpredictable competition, Nash showed there is always a mathematical fixed point of stable, randomized behavior. This raises an interesting question. Does reaching this equilibrium require human intelligence and complex probability calculations? Biologists explored this by looking at animal conflict through the hawk-dove game. In this model, the payoffs aren't measured in dollars, but in biological fitness and reproductive success. If a population consists entirely of peaceful doves who share resources, a single aggressive hawk mutant will invade. Because the hawk easily wins every encounter against a dove, it thrives, reproduces, and its aggressive traits spread rapidly across the group. The population will continue to shift until it hits an evolutionarily stable strategy. At this exact ratio of hawks to doves, the fitness payoffs balance out, preventing any new behavioral strategy from successfully invading. The Nash equilibrium extends far beyond economic theory. It acts as a law of nature, enforced blindly and relentlessly by the replicator dynamics of survival. This mathematical gravity explains why corporate cartels inevitably backstab each other, why daily commute traffic persists despite alternative routes, and why animal conflicts resolve through ritualized displays instead of lethal combat. If you want to solve a systemic societal problem, you cannot simply ask people to act against their own interests. You have to change the underlying payoffs to shift the equilibrium itself. We live in a world defined not by what is optimal for the group, but by what is stable for the individual. Understanding the Nash equilibrium is the first necessary step to re-engineering that stability.